Hey, so we just got out of The Last Jedi. First time watching it. It was interesting. It was long.
About 2 hours, 20 minutes, give or take.
Yeah. So, Initial thoughts, Austin.
Initial thoughts. Well, they dragged it on for a while.
It didn't drag necessarily. There was a lot, I think.
They really dragged on the parts where the resistance was in the ship. They kind of dragged that a little bit. That was kind of slow. I'm trying not to give away too many hints for people who will watch this and haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, no. It was when Rose and what's his name? Finn were the whole bit where they introduced JD, and I was really hoping JD was going to be a character from Legends. I know it was a reach, but he kind of looked like, for those of you who know Talon Card, I was hoping he was going to be him, but so that was that. That was a lot of info. I'm waiting to say, but my main theory that I said after The Force Awakens about Rey's parentage turned out to be true, so in a bit I'll do a video about that and talk about how that's funny. They now have sorry, got distracted by what was going traffic. The security guards at the mall for the theater we go to. I guess they got tired of people because it's a four-way cross street, so you're not supposed to run when
Talk about Star Wars, not the traffic.
Okay, right. All right, so
unless it's traffic on Coruscant.
Yeah, and Anakin just falling through it. But no, the movie, we're gonna do a spoilers review later, or I might just do it myself. But this movie, jeez, how do I go into spoilers? I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was good. I think it was better than Force Awakens, but
I liked it better than Force Awakens, to be honest.
It's battling with Rogue One. Like, how do you think it was compared to Episode 4?
How it was compared to Episode 4? Well, Episode 4 is, in length, shorter. It went by much more quickly. It didn't drag much on. Whereas the point you're like, okay, I'm tired of seeing this. Please move on to the next little bit.
Yeah, so I do think... So my ratings, it's still 5 at the top, 4... Last Jedi, Last Jedi, Rogue One, and Episode 6 are tied together. They're both really good. And then Episode 7, 3, 2, and 2 and 1. Well, no, Clone Wars is at the bottom. The movie Clone Wars, the show Clone Wars is way better. I have no idea why they made that into a movie and put it up. They should have just had that as a... No, they should have had a different story arc. They should have had the Clone Troopers.
We're not talking about the Clone
Wars. No, I know. I'm talking about movie order. But then going back to Last Jedi... I'm not sure how I feel about how they treated Luke Skywalker's character. This is me speaking from, like, Grandmaster Luke. So Grandmaster Luke from Legends, he's very different than this Luke Skywalker. They are different. In the same way that, as you could say, as I've talked about it before, Ben Solo is a copy of Jason Solo, but they're different. They're different in their own tonations. I definitely like what happened with Kylo Ren. That was interesting.
Yeah.
I was worried that they'd do something that I was a bit like, that's a bit too... But, not going into spoilers, what happened with him, Rey definitely had some developments. She messed up quite a bit, and yes, there is some merit to the fact that Rey from Episode 7 was a Mary Sue, but then there's the fact that Anakin Skywalker was a Mary Sue. Luke had development. Luke was similar in his development, so it's like this. I feel like Luke's development in Episode 4 to 5, like how his character develops, it's very similar to how Rey's character does it, but in reverse, 8 to 7. So the characters are building. It's going very
What do you mean by reverse?
As in, there wasn't as much character development with Rey within episode 7 as there was in episode 8. Where Luke had character development, but it was more so in episode 4. Like, there were certain things keeping Luke Skywalker from being a pure Mary Sue, where Rey was a lot closer to it.
Who the fuck is Mary Sue?
Mary Sue, you know what a Mary Sue is, right?
No, I have no.
Character
that's why I'm
who's
asking.
Okay, so a Mary Sue, and for those of you who don't understand,
tell me later. We're doing this.
Okay, but yeah, so it's. I liked what happened with Rey. It was, as I said, there was a theory I've shared about Rey's parentage. I haven't shared it on the channel. I shared it on Facebook. It's right. We'll talk about that later. But I do like how they went with her parents. That was something I wasn't entirely sure about, but I really do like it. And Snoke,
I give it a 7 out of 10.
I'm gonna give it. I initially gave Force Awakens a 9, but I've lowered that to an 8. I'd give this one, Last Jedi, an 8.5 out of 10. Both are really good movies. I'd say they're in my top 30 movies. They're not in my top 10. No, they're still. It's nowhere near as good as Episode 5, and that's my personal opinion. And like movies, like I still think my top like 3 movies, my trifecta, is Episode 5, The Dark Knight, and Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Who cares about your favorite movies?
No, I know, but going into The Force Awakens, not Force Awakens, Last Jedi. And for those who say, who are worried about it being an Episode 5 copy, it's not, but it is.
Has elements. Similar types of elements brought up in different situations, just like how The Last Jedi had somewhat same elements.
You mean Force Awakens? No, Force Awakens was a lot more of a copy of Episode 4 than this was a copy of Episode 5.
You can see similarities, but it's nothing like.
Thanks for cutting me off a second time.
You're welcome, because you tend to drag on your speech.
Well, I was going on to it. Okay, sorry. We're still working out how to balance this. No, I was going to get into what I was going to say.
If you listen to me, it's much more simple and easily spoken out and not as complicated as what he says.
Maybe you could say I'm more intelligent because of that.
You may be more intelligent, but you're more annoying because you tend to drag conversations on and on and on. And that's why I'm the first person to ever become your friend when you talk about Star Wars.
Oh, that isn't... That's something for later. But no, I've had... we'll discuss that later. So, I'd say... I was going to say, the first act, very similar to the... but it was different. It was changed. It was not as close of a copy as Rey on Jakku was to Luke on Tatooine. There were certain differences, like Luke wanted to leave Tatooine, while Rey didn't want to leave Jakku. But, the battle, it was similar to the Hoth battle, but at the same time different. The third act.
The way they set it up looked similar, but the way they executed it was not.
Yes, it was like I kind of got worried when I read the crawl, and it was the opening crawl, and I was like, okay, but the movie, it was interesting. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. I feel like, honestly, I said I gave it an 8.5. I want to watch it again before I give it a full score. It was out of 10.
On the upside, Phasma actually did something this time.
Yes, Phasma did something, as the trailer shows with Finn. I just feel like her and Snoke got too little screen time, and
there's not much in their development, to be honest.
Well,
like, who is this miraculous?
Well, Phasma got she had her own book before this, which I want to read. I'm gonna do something about this later, but we want to be careful with what talking about Phasma and Snoke. I want there to be more. I really want there to be more, but I don't know. Snoke and Phasma, they finally did something, but I think it might have. It's depending on how you feel, it might fall short. It definitely fell short for me. She did something, it was epic, and then she did something. Like, the only time you see her do something is the only time she does something. And it's maybe 10 minutes of the movie. In this movie. It's a lot more screen time. I think it's more screen time than... It might be the same as Force Awakens. She, as I said, did a lot more. I'm gonna have to watch this movie again. That's my thing. Which, great. Disney, you sunk me in another $15.
Alright, so what we have is, I give it a 7 out of 10. You're not entirely sure, but so far it's an
8.5.
8.5. So, that's our little talk of it.
About Force Awakens. I want to
Not The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
So anyway, thank you for watching.
Yes.
Acolytes and all learners of the Force.
The Living Holocron.
What was that again?
We're still figuring that out. If you have a suggestion about what Master Austin is, Living Holocron just fit because I've read it so much. But
anyway, thank you all for tuning in.
Mm-hmm. We'll have another video up. We'll probably do a spoilers one after we watch it a second time. And yes.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
Always.
And